I'm 53 years old and scared to start over. These are the words that someone messaged me. I obviously won't say who it was to protect their anonymity, but it's a very common sentiment, and I hear it a lot, that they're a little bit older in life, they are afraid to leave someone, and yet because they're scared to start over. Even if that person has been so cruel and unkind and uncaring, they say they're making progress, but you keep finding new things. There hasn't just been one D Day for you, but there's been like 12, or that might be a slight exaggeration, but some people have been there. And the fear of starting over is what's holding you back. And I want you to just reframe for a moment. You don't have to adopt this view forever, but consider the fact that starting over can be kind of fun. Think about all of the past people that you could have been in a relationship with, but the timing was slightly off, or you didn't have the courage to ask, or whatever the case may be. And think of like those could have been valuable relationships. Maybe by starting over, you could find somebody like that. And then starting over just in general is the best way to move forward once you have encountered a roadblock. If you are doing a math problem and you realize that you have made a mistake along the way and the numbers just aren't making any sense anymore, just starting over from the beginning is going to be the best way forward. But why is it that we're scared of starting over? So much of the way that the human brain works is to create patterns, to be very efficient with just not having to think about every decision every day. But sometimes that brain's ability to just create systems, create familiarity, create patterns, gets us into bad spots. And so that's why you need to not just rely on your brain's autopilot. That's why we have some capacity for free will to be able to say, hey, brain, you've been kind of just automatically crawling in this one direction for a long time. Everything is comfortable in that direction. You're even afraid of going off course, but you've messed up. Like, this isn't a good place for us to stay anymore. And sometimes the reason why it doesn't feel that way is because we're numbing ourselves. We're numbing ourselves to the reality of what's coming up if we don't change course. So sometimes there are two ways to motivate people, pain and pleasure. So sometimes I'll ask people about like, okay, if you do leave your partner, who you've told me is never going to change, like there's a 1% chance maybe that they're going to change, but it's very, very unlikely. If you leave them, what are the positive things that could happen? And they often struggle to come up with answers because they can't imagine their life outside of that context anymore. Like, you could fall in love, you could explore new parts about yourself, new hobbies, etc. But if that's not motivating them, I'll often flip to the other side. Like, okay, what bad things might happen if you choose not to make any change and just keep going the direction that you're going? And that's where it often clicks for people. It's like, oh, if I don't make a change, it's just going to be, if you're 53 now, it could be 30 more years of feeling lonely, even though you're sleeping next to somebody. It could be another 30 years of not being loved. It could be another 30 years of being a bad example to your children or those in your life. It could be another 30 years of feeling awkward inviting friends or coworkers over because your partner is not agreeable. Really think through the consequences, both negative and positive, especially the negative, and that will tend to help relativize the fear of change. Because starting over is scary. You don't know what's going to happen, but you do know what's going to happen if you stay, and that reality should scare you enough to be okay with embracing something new.